D-Day, Operation Overlord, as it was known at the time, was the biggest amphibious operation in world history, an effort to break through Hitler's Atlantic Wall defenses and begin the liberation of Europe. It was an international undertaking. The Americans, the British, the Canadians, there were also scattered units from the French Free Forces under de Gaulle and Polish forces who'd fled from the Germans. So there were actually 5 Allied forces involved. The Germans on the other side, behind the Atlantic Wall, had roughly in the area of Normandy around 18,000 men, but they had about 2.5 million men occupying the northern part of France, occupied France. This was a very difficult operation to plan. Who was going to be in charge? Which beaches were going to be assaulted by which country? The Americans got Omaha Beach, which was the most heavily defended area in Normandy, to assault, and Utah Beach, which was also pretty heavily defended. But it's on Omaha Beach where you have scenes of really what Nimitz would have called uncommon valor being a common virtue, not at Iwo Jima, but in Normandy. The Navy was involved. Pre-attack bombardment, there were 6,900 ships involved. The Army Air Corps was involved. There were 11,000 air sorties. And the infantry, the combat infantry who went in there, ended up changing the history of the world.
The Longest Yarn project was developed by friends of mine in France who are both Irish and English, who for years have dedicated their lives to helping bring veterans over to Normandy to celebrate the victory of the Allied forces, which are many, many countries, to fight fascism in Europe in June of 1944.
I mentioned it to someone and they said, what a great idea. And then we decided we'd do my front wall. And then it just sort of like suddenly got bigger and it suddenly went along the lines of the Bayeux Tapestry and ended up as 80 meters, representing 80 years and the 80 days of the Normandy battle before they got through to Paris. So that's in a nutshell how it all started.
Normandy is very interesting because going back to the 1000s, the Bayeux Tapestries, which I think are in Caen, Normandy, which is the Norman conquests of France, is a UNESCO World Site. It's always weaved as a history in panels. And the tapestries today represent the 80 days of the liberation of Paris, starting on June 6th, thereabout, or June 5th, when the Allies took ships by the thousands from England and landed on Normandy, and went all the way to Paris to liberate Paris. And that was the beginning of the end of the Second World War. I feel connected because my father, as an immigrant, my mother as a Holocaust survivor. I grew up with the idea that I had no family, nobody in Europe that we knew who survived the Holocaust or survived the war, because the Germans destroyed millions of people and they were not particular in who they destroyed if they didn't agree to the Aryan principles. As a child, I remember the photograph in the Warsaw Ghetto of a little young Jewish guy with a hat and shorts with his hands up, surrounded by German soldiers. And that's been in my mind and consciousness for my whole life about what kind of tragedy what befell these people and why. The longest yarn will be showcased at the U.S. Naval Air Station it's called North Cape May, but it was the Wildwood Air Station, which in the Second World War trained many, many pilots to go overseas to Europe, many of whom never made it to Europe because the planes crashed.
I got involved with the longest yarn, Cape May County, because I have a heart for veterans. Cape May County has a heart for veterans. We're repaying a favor to them because in 1781, the French government sent their navy to aid General Washington and our revolutionaries and enabled us to go ahead and win our independence and freedom from the tyranny of the British government. And we are eternally grateful to the French, and they are eternally grateful to the United States. I got involved with the longest yarn, Cape May County, because I thought it was perfect for us to show in Cape May County our love of veterans and our love of history. We are working to bring this exhibit here in 2025. And so we are raising funds to transport this exhibit here, and we're letting people know what this longest yarn is all about. Cape May County is the ideal venue for the longest yarn exhibit. We are a veteran-friendly county.
Let's talk about the complexities of the longest yarn. 80 boxes, approximately 265 feet in length.
Why should someone come visit it at the Naval Air Station? Imagine viewing 80 individually crocheted and knitted scenes of the first 48 hours of the invasion of Normandy.
Naval Air Station Wildwood Aviation Museum is located at the Cape May Airport in Cape May County, New Jersey.
What a backdrop for this exhibit. Cape May County is the ideal venue for the longest yarn exhibit. We are a veteran-friendly county with many veteran organizations so supportive of the longest yarn.
I feel very strong that this project is very important to the veterans and to the Cape May County community. For number one is to never, never, ever forget those that paid the ultimate sacrifice on that day. It's something that we lose here in our country, the memory, say their names, and to always never forget.
Let's talk about the naval history of Cape May. Let's talk about the fact that, as I'm pointing to my left, there's a Coast Guard base. That Coast Guard base was a naval base that looked over the waters of Cape May, watching for U-boats. that were in these waters. Let's further talk about the history of where this project will be. The Naval Air Station.
Longest Yarn project. Why should someone come visit it at the Naval Air Station? Imagine viewing 80 individually crocheted and knitted scenes of the first 48 hours of the invasion of Normandy.
Let's talk about the complexities of the longest yarn. 80 boxes, approximately 265 feet in length. Now we have to bring that beautiful art and historical display to the United States.
Hundreds of people for the last 2 years have knitted and crocheted different scenes which represent different realities of what happened in Normandy on June 6th, 7th, and 8th. And 80 panels represent some story that reflected a Brit, an American, a French. It was the world at war in crocheted and knitted form, like the Bayeux tapestries.
To really connect with Carrington in France, the city, these French people love and took our American veterans to heart ever since the Normandy invasion. It's going to connect the sister city and connect the two cities, which will be forever.
Our committee says, well, let's plan the work and work the plan. Planning on bringing the tapestry here to Cape May, and once it's in Cape May, transporting it to the Naval Air Station, where we're just not going to drop off the boxes. We have already started working with the management and the coordinators at the Naval Museum. Where's it going to be displayed? How's it going to be displayed?
Naval Air Station Wildwood Aviation Museum is located at the Cape May Airport in Cape May County, New Jersey. Naval Air Station Wildwood was World War II dive bombing training facility that operated from 1943 to 1945. During this time, there was over 130 crashes and 42 men were killed in training accidents.
The story of The Longest Yarn will speak to anyone and everyone. And I guarantee you will leave a different person moved by this story.
Feindliche Invasionsflotte in Sicht. Invasion, die wir erwartet haben.